Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Imam Bilal Hassan on a special exclusive edition of New Freedom Exchange. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning for all those who are present. And hope everyone is having a great Thursday evening. We're getting ready to stream live the special program that's going on by the uh, Midwest Leadership Cultural Team in a few minutes. A special conversation that will be going live in a few minutes here on New Freedom Exchange. We're going to be streaming it live with independent artists, Kachebee Abdullah, New Africa Records, and also Imam Rashad, Abdul-Rahmaan from the Atlanta Masjid will be coming live direct in a few minutes. In a few minutes here, getting ready to stream it now for you all to listen to. In a few minutes at 8 o'clock, they will be going live at 8 p.m. And we're going to be streaming it live here for you all to see. So how everyone is doing, let me know where you are all tuning into so we can recognize you and bring you up in the comments. We can shout you out. Let us know where you are tuning in from, excuse me. Let us know where you're tuning in from this evening. Thank you all for tuning in. This is a special edition. We're a double header to this evening, actually. After this program tonight, we'll be back at 10:30 for the nightcap, 10:30 Eastern, for Kachebee Abdullah's live concert. Live concert tonight. He will be performing some of his music and also renditions of other music as well, other artists' music, live and direct here at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. For all those who can make it, please tune in to the platform. Again, share and like us here on New Freedom Exchange, on Facebook, New Freedom Exchange, and on YouTube, New Freedom Exchange as well. Subscribe to our channel. We'd like to thank everyone who has subscribed already. We'd like to thank everyone who has liked our page, shared our page, commented on our streams, participated in our conversations. We thank you all for doing that, and we definitely appreciate you all for participating. We're about to switch over and hear from Imam Rashad Abdul-Rahmaan and Brother Kachebee Abdullah on this Midwest cultural leadership team from the Midwest, who will be presenting on on culture and us being more productive in it and participating in it, and how we are responsible for those who are in it, in the culture in various areas, are responsible to participate in it and promote goodness and wholeness in it as well. So we were just waiting for them to start, and then we will tune in to them. Again, where is everyone tuning in from? Thank you for tuning in. So here they are, they're about to start. So let us tune in.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Amen. Dear brothers, dear sisters, my name is David Shaheed, and I'm the co-host for this meeting. At this point, I'll turn it over to Sister Adria, who will give you some important information and also welcome you to our event.
Thank you, Judge Shaheed. Assalamu alaikum again, and welcome. We thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules. We have a good show that we want to present to you today. We have some fantastic presenters, guest speakers. Again, our moderator is the Honorable Judge David Shahid, and we thank him for his assistance with this presentation. Today, our guest speakers are Brother Kachebee Abdullah and Imam Rashad Abdul-Rahmaan. And we are going to speak to our theme, and that is directing productive culture. Projecting productive objectives in the cultural climate. I'd just like to take a minute to let everyone know how we'll be operating. We would like to feature our presenters, our guests. We'll start with Brother Kachebee and end with Imam. Okay. And can you get that person?
Just one other, I'm sorry for interruption. If everyone could just self-mute so that I don't have to do it as the moderator, that would be helpful. And then we'll ask you to unmute if you have a question. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, thank you. So our format this evening is we will hear from our two speakers, and we ask everyone to use
in particular the young people who have aspirations of performing, writing music, and being in the music. And most of us, I kind of think about performing because we have a craft. Yours is the wind instrument, somebody else is vocal. Adria is a model vocalist. But how do we protect ourselves, in particular young people? How can they protect themselves with New Africa?
Right. The first part of it is just being human. I think the fact that we are implementing Imam Muhammad's vision makes us human, because the Imam, of course, is a student of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, and we're all tied to the Quran. So everything we do will flow from that deep thinking. What we're really talking about is being totally independent of the current system. Totally independent. I was thinking about Bette Midler just now when you mentioned how artists are being taken advantage of. Back in the late 70s, 80s, when artists would sell at a gold or even a platinum level, if they sold 1 million songs, they can easily make a living for their family. You sell 1 million songs, that could equate to $1.5 million gross, or even higher, depending on the retail value. But today, Bette Midler sold 1 million songs. I believe it was on Apple Pay. They paid the most, and they paid 0.006 cents for every song that sold, and that's the highest. That's higher than Spotify. That's higher than Tidal. For her going platinum, they paid her $6,000 for that. And so no, the direct answer is we want to have our own streaming service that will compete against Tidal, Apple Music. It don't require learning, rocket science. It just requires a commitment to be honorable and a commitment to set up that infrastructure. And trust me, the artists will come to us. It's almost like banking. It's time to get a house for yourself. Do you go to a Muslim bank where there's no interest, or do you go to bank of who so and so, or you pay interest out the nose? They don't even have to be a Muslim. Guess where they're coming? If your bank is established and ready to go, and you're not offering any interest, the world is going to come to you. So all artists, I believe, once we operate, both Muslim and non-Muslim artists will come to us, because we will be fair, inshallah. Now, the second part of this, I was signed to Island Polygram Records back in the early 90s. And our attorney at the time, and he was a very humble gentleman, was attorney Lee Young Jr. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's passed on now. But he is the former president of Motown. And before he passed, we had long sessions on how to set up record companies, how to set up publishing. And Allah blessed me to sit down with his brother. And based on these sessions, I know what's supposed to happen. If I was a bad guy, I definitely know how to take advantage of people. But because we want to do this the halal way, we want to imagine Motown, a halal Motown. So New Africa, inshallah, will be the halal Motown for all artists, not just for Muslims, but for all artists. Inshallah. That's the intention.
Yeah, and then one final point, because hopefully we have some young people in the audience, and for those who have children or grandchildren that have artistic talents, they have the performing arts, but then there are also the visual arts. There's a spoken word, there's a written word, and so forth. Can New Africa also be a place where they can contact you and get guidance with respect to whatever their talents are, as to how they can best kind of direct or hone those talents so that they can benefit themselves, but also benefit the Muslim community?
Absolutely. Part of the Motown model was to develop an A&D department. Most record companies don't deal with that. Work with A&R, artist and repertoire, but not artist and development. The artist that immediately jumped to my mind was the Temptations. When Motown signed the Temps, they just didn't release them right away. You know, they literally went in and developed the artists and got them to a level where they wanted them to be, and then released the Temptations. Again, I like that model. You know, I want to use the Andy model of Motown, and I've also studied Quincy Jones critically as well. We plan on using the Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson method as well as it relates to production. I'm a former instructor as well. I used to teach recording engineering at Pinnacle College in El Humber, California. So any of the information that I have, I will gladly give, especially to the young people. But just keep in mind, I'm old school. My philosophy is to not look at anyone in this current world. My thinking is to turn to the masters of the past, the Coltranes, the Wayne Shorters, the Miles Davis, the Charlie Parkers, the Duke Ellingtons. There was a time where the African American culture was at just such a high level that everyone looked up to us for that guidance. So if any young people come to me, I'm going to take them to whether it's art, graphic art, it doesn't matter. I'm going to turn them to the masters of the past so they can absorb those disciplines, and then inshallah I'll come out with something new, something that will reflect them.
Beautiful, beautiful. One of the things about it, I'll just comment because you mentioned Michael Jackson, but Michael Jackson understood the business of music because I don't think everybody knows that Michael Jackson owned the Beatles songbook, which caused kind of a breakup between Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson. So there's never lose sight of the business of this. So Imam, Rashad, I know that you have a lot of young people in the Atlanta community that probably look up to you for a number of reasons. What do you say to them about the Muslim investment in culture? You know, I think you're familiar with how earlier, when Imam Muhammad suggested that we see arts and culture as one of the four birds, there were many in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East who were still saying that music was haram. What do you to aspire and have musical talents and gifts? Well, not just music, but artistic talents and gifts.
Yes. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you all for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. And I really benefited from Brother Kachebee's statements. So I would really just tie into what he was really saying. He was saying it, but you know, you listen to a speaker and you take it in different directions. And one of the things that I heard him speak about was just the spirit of what we come from. We have a tradition, actually. We have a cultural tradition, our people. And I think it was born out of our experience as a people. We have been, in large part, a people who were religious and aware of the need to express ourselves in an excellent way, because the whole world was telling us, or had been telling us, that we were not excellent, that we didn't have anything of quality or value to contribute to global society or American society. And I think that what a lot of young persons get caught up in, the allurement of money, the allurement of the material world, they respond to that allurement, but they do it by jeopardizing and really turning their back on the integrity and the excellence of our foreparents in the arts as a whole. And then not just African Americans, the arts in general. The arts have always been really an avenue for genius to be expressed, for human genius to be expressed. This is just throughout the history of civilization. So I would say to the young persons, and I've had these conversations with several persons who I know, they make music, some do visual arts, they make clothes, that what they want to do, for us as Muslims, again, as Brother Kachebee said, we really want to be sensitized by our religion. Our religion, from the Quran, Muhammad's tradition, in this community particularly, the language of our Imam, the language and spirit of Imam W.D. Muhammad, that should really be channeled through our artistic expression. That's what we really want to see. But what we do have to impress upon them, and this becomes a bit of a struggle, that to do that is not, for want of a better term, it's not a lame thing. It's not something that will make you unattractive. What it will actually do is make you original. It will make you original. And by being original, you will be the most attractive thing. So that's what we're working with right now. That's what I would say to them, and that's what we're working on.
Well, I know one of the difficulties is that there's still a lot of influence of like the Hollywood culture, especially with performing. So what can you say to our young people that are pulled in the direction of making money and being maybe a celebrity, because that is kind of the pathway to stardom in America? How do you try to encourage our young people to hold fast to the principles of Islam and not be swayed by the lure, which I think most of us would say the lure of shaitan,
right?
Powerful attraction.
Yes, sir.
So how can you insulate or help us, stay strong against those temptations?
Yes. So, I understand the desire to want to make money. I do. I think that what I try to draw our attention to, and young people are pretty much aware of it. They may not always put two and two together. You have to kind of assist them. But we live in unprecedented times. Again, I think the brother Kachebee mentioned it about even with the streaming service. There was a time when you had to get a record deal to be heard. That's not the case anymore. So my generation too. I mean, I'm not a young guy like that. But the brothers and sisters in their 20s, teens, 20s, 30s, early 30s, they have a competitive advantage that generations before them didn't have. All they need is a phone, really, and talent, of course. Well, nowadays they don't even need talent; they have stuff. But they at least need a phone, because with these phones, look at what we're doing right now. We're in different parts of the United States, but talking at the same time, having exchange. And with them, it's to a greater degree. I mean, we have members of our community who have thousands of followers on Instagram. And I think the most notable young person that we have, who has a big following, is one of the brothers here, the founder of We Buy Black. They reached 1 million followers maybe a month or so ago. That's unprecedented in the history of humanity, which is a regular person can gather around them 1 million people, or gather around their message. I'm saying that to say we have to bring before our young people's attention the freedom that they have. So when the time was present, or when we were in the time where we had to get a record deal, or we had to go into Hollywood. In other words, we had to walk through someone's doors. The challenge of either sacrificing or not sacrificing our moral life, it was much more strong. But today, that challenge is not as strong, at least at the outset. You can literally gain a following in your bedroom, and you don't have to compromise anything. So I think that what they need to really understand, what we have to help them understand, is the hand that they have been dealt by global circumstances, because we know this is really God's will. and the way that Allah has planned for the world to move, it has brought the world to this current state where all of us, we all have access to everyone if we know how to make use of what's available in the way of technology, social media, etc. So I would suggest they tap into that. And because they're free from that aspect, they can keep it clean. They don't have to worry about giving up their morals, etc. So I would start there.
And maybe you can be helpful to the Muslims of my generation, because in some ways I see around the country kind of a disconnect.
Yes.
There's kind of like what Imam Muhammad said, and then there's just, you've heard it before, and then that is kind of their segue into not supporting what young people want to do, or kind of closing the hammer, and young people don't really stick around if they feel that there's somebody willing to support them. So what advice can you help me pass along to my generation so we can be more supportive of young Muslims and their aspirations, their visions, their talent, and what they want to do in the arts and in other areas?
Right. So it depends. In a lot of ways, it's a case by case situation. You have to look at the whole case. I mean, you're a judge. You know how that goes. You have to look at everything. Look at everything. But to keep it in general terms, I do think that there are several things. I mean, if we have individual persons, like we have this in Atlanta, we have a lot of young people who come to the masjid, and I mean, they're just, the nappy hair is a style, the sagging pants is a style, just everything that you just can think about a sort of stereotypical young person. However, Imam Muhammad, he said on one occasion that if all they can do good is fry an egg, then you should start there. Acknowledge that they can fry a good egg and then work with them. So these are young people. A lot of them are rapping. They're doing they're making videos, so on and so forth. But they're coming to the masjid and they see themselves as Muslims. So we should first, I remember, I think this was in that book, Imam Muhammad Speaks from Harlem. He was speaking about how, if we have a sister, for example, who dresses in a way it's not what we would consider modest dress, but she wants to be among us. She wants to be in the community. We have to understand that this sister wasn't born and raised in Pakistan. She's born and raised in America. So it's really understandable why she wants to dress that way. And we shouldn't be quick to condemn her because she dresses that way. She's in this environment. We can't lift her up and say this is the ideal look of a Muslim woman, but at the same time, we can't put her down because she wants to be a Muslim woman. So I think those types of things, we just take an analogy. We take analogies from those type of examples. We look at these young persons. We see that they have good in them, in that they want to be Muslim, they want to be a part of the community. And let's start by encouraging them where they are. And then gradually addressing them in terms of where we know they should be. So we don't allow those young, when we see them, we say, hey man, you got to pick your pants up. You in the masjid. Most of the time, because they're Muslim, they say, oh, I'm sorry, man. They'll acknowledge they're doing something wrong. But you have to say it with love, because we know the world we live in. I mean, this world will have you thinking Pepsi is more healthy than water. So we just know the nature of this world. So we have to be very merciful. But we should not, what we cannot do, though, no matter what, is forego our principles. We never put down our principles as Muslims, but how we go about addressing those who are not as strong as we are in the living of those principles. That's what I'm speaking about, particularly our method.
Sister,
may I chime in?
Question. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate it. There were a couple of points I wanted to just add to it.
Yes.
The earlier question you asked on how can we approach the young people that are rapping, and frankly, we sign them. from New Africa's point, we literally sign them and give them the better deal. The reason why a lot of the culture is being moved in this direction is because the executives at the record company won't sign you unless you do things like that. You look at the Zionists who were behind NAA. Unless you do the negative things. Like what the Imam just said, if we sacrifice our principle, then we're no different than what's out there now. Why even start New Africa? You might as well just sign with Warner Brothers or whoever. So that's the first part. The second, you had mentioned, I think the Imam mentioned about the genius. What will help set us apart from other record companies is that we will tap into our tradition. What I learned when I was in school, I was a music major. The solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, hadn't changed in 1,000 years. So we got Mozart, even before him, Bach, Brahms, Beethoven, they all composed their music based on that system. Charlie Parker changed the system in 1945, created an entirely new language, bebop solfege, give birth to bebop scales, give birth to bebop jazz. 7 years later, Coltrane changed it to a state where music has not progressed. That's actually the peak of music composition, at least Western music composition as of now. What we would want to do is tap into that well of genius, not even worry about what people are doing. So on a musical, just solely music, harmonic wise, melodic wise, we intend to go to the optimum level, the apex level, that will help uplift our culture that way. And then on the lyrical standpoint, of course, our philosophy is coming from the Quran. We don't even have to mention the Quran. We just family life, being human, And then the last part you mentioned about music being haram. This is real interesting to me. And I try to keep it real simple. I remember a brother, he was from a different school of thought. And he mentioned that. He said, "Why are you doing music? Music is haram." I said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Music is melody, harmony, and rhythm." And I asked him again, "Are you sure it's haram?" He said, "Yes, it's haram." I said, "Okay, when you call the adhan, try calling it without melody and rhythm. And when we all say, I mean, when we're making salah, stop the harmony from happening." I'll just end it right there.
Yes. Well, Sister Adria, if you would just allow me one follow-up question.
Sure.
I have a keen interest in music. I always have. Both my parents were musicians, so I grew up kind of in a home like you did. But as you're familiar, today, to do music, and make money, you can use Pro Tools, you can use GarageBand, and you don't have to go through Juilliard or Eastman School of Music. So do you have the capacity to work with those who have an interest in particular with respect to not learning formal music, with respect to, reading music and so forth, but they can produce music using some of those tools like Pro Tools, GarageBand, and so forth?
Right. Yes, sir. The beautiful thing about it, myself and New Africa, I'm not the president. I'm the founder, but the president is the brother. His name is Nolan Shaheed. Nolan is my mentor. He's on such a high level. So we're talking the former music director of Earth, Wind, and Fire, former music director of Anita Baker, worked with the West Coast Horns with Quincy and Michael Jackson. So Nolan probably has almost a $250,000 studio already. I have Pro Tools, probably $10,000 worth of equipment. But like I mentioned before, I used to teach recording engineering, but I also teach music production at LACC, Los Angeles City College. So we can help the kids learn the music production side. We'll help them learn the business side. And also we'll help them learn music theory as well. Because remember, we don't just want to fit into the culture. We literally want to change the system, change the culture. I'll give you an example, and I'll end here. I'll make it quick because I know it's stage. I was speaking with my mentor, Brother Nolan, and I love jazz music. And Nolan told me jazz was dead, and that bothered me. I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!" and he didn't mean that there are no jazz musicians playing. He didn't mean that. What he meant, when you go into the thinking, you had Louis Armstrong. 7 years later, in comes Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. 7 years later, this is evolution now, comes John Coltrane. 7 years later, nothing. 7 years after that, nothing. You see, 7 years after. So Nolan told me if the thinking has stopped, it's probably dead. So I asked Nolan, because I know what the Quran say. Allah says he is the one that brings the life out of the death. I asked him, how do we bring the life out of the death in this situation? Nolan said, easy. We go back to the garden of the mind. We go back to forever. Just like that. That's how Coltrane. That's how Coltrane went into the garden of the mind and brought back the gems from Jannah. And the same thing with Charlie Parker. So the kids that's coming to us, I'm not looking at anyone in the culture today because they ain't Coltrane. And now, if we go back, when the kids bring something back, it's not going to sound like Coltrane. It'll be something that we probably didn't even recognize. Right. Because Charlie Parker didn't recognize what Coltrane was doing. Right. And Louis Armstrong didn't recognize what Dizzy Gillespie was doing. So that's what we're talking about doing, is taking these kids back to the garden of the mind and going above the system and creating an entirely new system. Yeah. So, and I'll just end it.
Okay. Sister Adria, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, actually, he sort of answered the question. I just wanted to interject and ask the question. So, for our current aspiring young artists, do you think it's essential that they learn the instrument for several reasons to help them create that new garden of music? Even if it's a rapper, should they take the discipline of music? That should go for vocalists, rappers, anyone in the musical field. How can New Africa bring them to that fruition? Would there be a prerequisite that you have to learn an instrument so that they can learn the science of the music?
Right. Well, one thing that we intend to do at New Africa is to have almost like a brain trust or a library, similar to the Music Union in Los Angeles, where the kids may come in and see something they're interested in, or I want to learn mixing. That's totally different from tracking and mastering. That's a totally different animal. So what we want is to have that capability there. If the person wants to rap, they need to learn everything about hip hop. I mean, scratching, the turntables, understanding rhythm. So that's, learning music theory. But the greatest rapper, in fact, the rapper's rapper, who they would say the greatest rapper that ever lived was Rakim. And you ask Rakim, who was his greatest influence? You know what he'll say? John Coltrane. That's who he listened to. Wow. See, there's no escape from it. So it depends on how talented the artist is and where they are, and because we don't want to overload them too, with too much information. But we want to give them whatever they need to have that competitive edge in the market. Just like when the Temptations were signed with Motown, they were already great. That's why they got signed in the first place. But Berry Gordy and the producers saw something in the Temptations. When they released the Temps, there was nothing in the market that could deal with them. Nothing in the market that can deal with them. The same thing with Marvin Gaye. When Michael Jackson came out, I remember that Motown 25. My mouth dropped open the first time I saw the moonwalk. I was like, what? That just happened? Yeah. We want our young kids to do things that's going to make our mouth drop open. And guess what? That's going to attract other young people. So inshallah, and then we will pay them, back to what the judge was saying. We will pay them what they're supposed to get paid. we would teach them. We'll have attorneys. They want to learn the business side. They want to learn publishing. Want to understand first off, we're Muslim. We have a heart. So we want to make sure their contracts and everything is right, inshallah. They'll never want to leave us. Like, I think Stevie Wonder literally just left Motown. He was signed there for 40 years.
He did.
So, one other thing before I forget. I'm just a worker bee. My dream, as it relates to this particular mission, is to create many bees, many new Africas. I can drop dead tomorrow. The mission is to replicate, to create as many multi-millionaires in our community as possible, and to create great musical thinkers as possible. I don't want just one artist. We need many artists and many multi-millionaires within the music industry so we can compete against Sony, compete against BMG and Warner Brothers. You can't do it. One bee cannot pollinate the planet. Inshallah, Imam Muhammad was extremely serious, and I take him serious. I'm a very serious person when it comes to this subject. Imam Muhammad said to remake the world. I took that literally. So I started looking at it. Okay, how can we remake the world? So I'm very serious when it comes to, I joke around, I'm silly with my children, but when it comes to this subject, my dream is not even to have one record. We need multiple record companies and multiple film companies and multiple artists. Something happened to one ain't stopping nothing.
Right.
And inshallah, one thing, and I'll end here. I don't ever want to sell out like Barry Gordy did. I understand it. He probably got tired, wanted to retire. He sold Motown. Oh my God! Look, what do we have now as a people? The same thing with BET. Don't ever.
Right.
It's not about the money at that point. You have to keep that legacy, and no one is going to have a legacy like the African American Muslims from Wafdi Muhammad's community. No one is going to have that kind of higher standard. Nobody on the planet. I really believe that. So I'll end there.
Rashad, any comments with respect to?
Hey, I'm enjoying listening to my brother. I haven't heard him speak before. I've seen him like when we do we just did a program the other day, and I saw him in the thread. But for me, it's very beautiful because we get accustomed to hearing an imam speak. You know what I mean? He's expected to speak and say the right things. What I really like is when I hear a business person or musician, etc., speak from our mind, but in their field, because that's what it's really about. That's how it really comes to life, and it grows and pulsates. So I'm just enjoying the conversation. I'm here to contribute too. Don't get me wrong. But I really love that because just to conclude these statements, I feel the exact same way with the work that I'm doing. I really see it as, it's very easy. And I think we kind of fall into a trap like this. And I was literally just telling someone 2 days ago about BET and Barry Gordy. Literally, I was just using that exact same example, how as African Americans, too many of us, something has happened when we don't see the big picture. Big picture meaning breadth and, depth, like where we're going, 300 years, 500 years from now. And the work is so big, it's so critical, but it's so beautiful. No one person can carry it all. We all should see ourselves. No matter how much Allah blesses us, we should all see ourselves as workers for the cause. Like you just said, Brother Kachebee, worker bees. And we're trying to just pollinate. So that's how I feel, 100%. So I love it.
Well, we're now open for questions from everyone who has been generous enough to share this evening with us. So if you have questions, we would prefer that you put them in the chat. If you don't feel comfortable with that, just raise your hand or indicate, and we'll, okay. Brother Muhammad Abdullah, do you have a question? Make sure you unmute yourself before you ask your question.
Yes, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah. Revelation is right in our midst. I'm so grateful to meet all of you and to be a part of this discourse. when I look at your name, Brother Kachebee, I actually see Kachebee. And that's what you've been talking about, catching bees. And I'm not going to be here. I'm going on 72 years from now. My wife just made 69. We're percussionists, but we also are more playwrights. We started a 501c3 called On the Spot Entertainment Corporation. We use the performing arts and entertainment to educate the public on social issues. So it's a new education model. But what I want to ask you about is if you happen to be a songwriter, one who is a poet and you write lyrics, how would that fit into the picture for New Africa? Because there's a lot of talent out there. If we can get the lyrics and the songs in their hands, it might be able to do something with it.
Right. We'll receive them, number one, and copyright them, protect them.
They're copyrighted.
Right. Well, what we'll do, inshallah, is work to produce them. I remember when I was speaking, like I mentioned, with Leon Jr., the former president of Motown. In one of my meetings, I told him, my dream, I want to make a company like Motown. Yeah. And he bust out laughing. You know what he said? He said, I still have the blueprints. So what we'll do, alhamdulillah, is take those tunes and refine them to their natural beauty. Some of the tunes may already be ready to go. Yeah. But we'll sharpen them against other masterpieces. Okay. Inshallah. Other masterpieces. Whatever we produce, we want it to last for years. Right. And enact them. To answer that question directly, take those songs, arrange them, produce them, release them, and sell. And hopefully the songwriter and the performer, they can share in the royalties and the publishing of that. So our job is to push it. Because now think about it, the songs that coming from us is programming the culture. Just like the songs that's coming from the other side is programming the culture. Mm-hmm. So the more we put out, the better the culture is going to become.
Yes, absolutely.
Inshallah. So, but to answer that question, we'll just take it and produce it, and then release it, distribute it, promote it, and go on tour.
Okay, I'll leave my number in the chat box.
All right. Yes, sir.
I'll leave a website so that we can collaborate.
Yes, sir.
Inshallah.
Yeah, one comment that comes to mind, based upon what you said, Brother Kachebee, is that, the business committee, both at Midwest Leadership Conference and also nationally, should be, there should be a conversation going, because we all know, at least on the business side, the value of venture capital, because, to be able to compete with Sony, Apple, and all the other streaming services that are coming online, you need money. So one of the best ways to be able to promote and help, the artists coming along will be to have capital. So, we should have a conversation about having a connection with the business community so that they are aware of what you do well, because I'm not sure that they do know about you, but they should. So are there any questions? Any other questions? I know for one, one of the, there are so many forums that young people are using. TikTok is one of the forums where there's a lot of entertainment taking place. I mean, really some very creative stuff. Instagram, you can see very creative forums. And also I'm familiar with YouTube. YouTube has a very complicated structure for getting your, whatever your art is out there, but you can create a channel which really only takes 100 subscribers. But once you create a channel, you can have people come to your channel and kind of build from there. So are you working with any of those platforms to help the artists get their work out?
Not yet. Where we are right now, and I'm glad you hit on the finance. I've been finalizing our two plans: the business plan, our plan of operations, at least projecting the next 5 years, and also private placement memorandum, so we can put that in front of potential investors. Because I was thinking about opening up New Africa. That's the next step. Offering it to those who qualify in our community. And I know just looking at the security laws, you have to really be careful with that. So I'm still studying that very critically. But the intention was to approach our community first. We're going to approach different people, but give our community the first right of refusal early next year, as it relates to them investing inside of New Africa. Now, there may be a step, and I've been considering this as of recently, is to crowdfund in the beginning. This is what Brother Sharif Abdul-Malik did with We Buy Black. I was noticing how he crowdfunded in the beginning to get the funds to begin his operations, and that's extremely beautiful because you don't have a lot of red tape and the ties that you have to investors. Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the business of music. We need that engine to push whatever art is going to be produced, but you still need the financial engine to be able to compete. Our plan, I can at least tell about the initial part of the plan, and it's very simple. Once coronavirus is over, our plan is to follow the Motown model and to tour worldwide immediately. We've looked at other things. I won't mention it now because it's so competitive, but and I mentioned streaming too. I think that's safe to mention, but that's like step 2. We, of course, want to work with YouTube and others as it relates to creating channels. But even now, I'm not operating with Spotify or any of those streaming services. None of my music is on there because I don't like the pay structure. It's actually slavery. So what we intend to do is to first tour the entire world. 2 things happen. It sharpens up the artists as we're getting our craft and skills going. And second, it builds that extra revenue that we need. And then the second phase is to start having our own radio stations, our own satellite space, and also our own streaming service. Phase 3, I can't mention because it's so competitive.
Right.
Those are 2 phases that are pretty easy.
Right. Well, that's why I was saying it would be good to have a conversation with the business community so they at least know about you, maybe make a presentation, because it takes money to compete. And when you get into security stuff, there's state securities laws, and then there's CC. So there are people that can help with that. So I think the sooner connections made with the business community, the better. So
yes, sir.
This could be a good starting point, a launching point for that kind of conversation. So we have 10 minutes left.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, are there any other questions? Yes. Sunni Ali Islam. And unmute, please.
I really enjoy this because it makes the old man feel good. It really does. One of the mistakes I learned is how not to be a parent. And what I learned about being a parent is that we take the assumption where we want our children to be. We don't deal with them where they are. That's kind of the unanimous admission. I agree with that 100%. It took a long time for me to learn that. And the second thing is that when the brother's talking about going back to Coltrane, I'm a product of the 50s. And when people are talking about Coltrane and Miles, you gotta be kidding me. I'm in high school listening to this, right? My granddaughter, this is my point, I think. My granddaughter, for one, and I have many of my children and grandchildren, are very, very, very talented. And I share with them, first look to see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran about what it is you want to do. Then look to see what he says. And then look at Imam working Muhammad. And if you're looking at it from that perspective, God willing, you won't go wrong. If you're going, I heard Imam say this, if you're going into business, you need to read the book of business and see how our prophet dealt in business, he said, etc. I have a granddaughter, she's 13. She came to me and she says, I want to study violin. She was about 8. I said, why? She said, I don't know. I said, I think that you need to find out why you want to study violin before you start studying. So I listened to her to look and find the prominent Muslim African American females in violin, Regina Carter thing. And look at them and see what they did. And I also share with her to go and listen to Love Supreme by Coltrane. Well, a lot of people don't know. Well, this might be what you call urban legend, but it's written down. The title of that was Love Supreme. That was the title of that. See, so you look at that, and then you get into the situation how people control your thinking, your music, etc., etc. Ain't no puzzle. Last year, in this pandemic, she wrote I don't know what they call it, a song or whatever it is on the violin, two violins. And I was listening to it. My wife said, listen to this. She didn't tell me who it was. I said, man, that is really something. She said, that's Khadijah. Not Khadijah, I got so many of these girls. That's Zakia. I said, what? So she wrote a piece. And I want to really try to plug her into this. I have, by law's permission, I have grandchildren that are unbelievably talented, art-wise, poetry, etc., etc. And I don't know. You're going to make it easy for them. Thank the Lord for giving me the opportunity to be here. And I enjoyed this.
Thank you. I have a question for Imam Rashad and also Brother Kachebee. And that is, I think we share, the three of us, a real appreciation for the leadership of Imam W.D. Muhammad, Wartha Muhammad. For me, Islam saved my life, and so I'm in. But I would have to admit that sometimes in talking with my children and talking with grandchildren, it's hard for them to appreciate in the same way the love and appreciation I have for Imam Muhammad, because that's what we're trying to continue. It's not just enough to perform or to be artistic. We want to continue a legacy of excellence that was given to us by our leader. So share with us, both of you, if you will, any advice or any comments that you would want to make on that point, because we want more than just to have artistic people and cultural people. We want to have the continuation of a legacy.
Let's be down first, please.
Yes, sir. Bismillah. I've struggled with that because even from my experience, I know from my experience how I feel about Imam Muhammad, and then I look at my children, and I've come to the realization or just the conclusion that I don't think it's realistic for me to expect for them to have the same spirit when it comes to Imam Muhammad as I do. At least not in the same, maybe spirit is not the best term. So I've thought about how can we see to it that, as Imam Muhammad told the young people on one occasion, we give him a good future. So just stepping back and looking at it, I see that what we're talking about now, New Africa, the language New Africa, the model, what we're going to speak about, the type of music that we'll be producing. Like what I'm doing with the program that we have, that we're developing a school, the books that I'm currently putting together, etc. This is how Imam Muhammad lives. The more we become productive, and it expresses more and more of Imam Muhammad. Because we already have it. in the works. We will be preserving his lectures, but everyone's not going to read a lecture. We will be writing books, but everyone's not going to be reading books. But everyone's not going to be listening to music. So I think what's going to happen is I think what is happening, we're creating an environment where the language of Imam Muhammad becomes expressed through all of these various ways. And what I think is beneficial is that, like, I write a book, Brother Kachebee reads it, and then he teaches his students. So he comes out with an album. I listen to it. Or this guy over here listens to it while he's cutting it. He's doing business. So in other words, we're cross-pollinating now. And that's really how the garden grows. That's what I see. We're always going to have a core group, I believe, who stick to the devotion of study, preservation of the language. But I think how that language is going to be expressed, just to use that language like the 4 rivers that feed the garden, they go out from the garden. In other words, it's different streams feeding one garden. And I think the business, the education, the political life, etc., that is the garden, because you have different types of plant growth. But as Allah said, it's fed by one water. So we come from this history, we have this spirit, we have this language. It'll be expressed in different ways, and I think that's what we just have to be aware of. So again, this conversation, to me, I'm really glad that the lights came on and everything, because as you asked, Judge, before, we had this situation in Decatur where everything went out. I didn't think I was going to make it. I'm glad I did. And I'm really, to me, I didn't say this before, but I was a music major when I first went to college, because I wanted to learn how to compose. And the only thing that got me out is I joined Imam Muhammad's class, and I decided, well, this is what I'm going to devote myself to. But I've always been a fan of music. And I think the first class I went to, I heard Imam Muhammad, he said that the prophet was like the perfectly tuned instrument. And God was like the master instrumentalist who played that instrument. And that just blew me away. I was like, okay, this is why I'm staying here. I'm not going anywhere. So, alhamdulillah. But in short, I think that's where we should be in terms of looking at reaching our younger people now and in the future.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I'll try to keep it short. To me, I know the young people are going to, especially with entertainment and music, it's flashy. They're going to be attracted to that. And us older soldiers in the know, our job is just to implement. So the Imam Muhammad's language is so potent, I believe it's going to create a new renaissance. Like we have the Harlem Renaissance. Yeah. That gave birth to Charlie Parker, Coltrane. That was a whole new thing that wasn't there before. So I believe the Imam's language is so potent. It's almost like the Imam said, it's like a spirit. The spirit in programming language, like in a computer, is the unseen. So right now I'm speaking to you on my computer, but the programming language in the computer, I can't see that. I'm seeing you guys. So the Imam Muhammad's language and the wisdom will be in the background. We know what it is. We're going to be implementing. Right. And the kids, they'll first come in because of the attraction of the entertainment, at least on this side. Others will be attracted once we start building cities, because that's coming next, inshallah. Once we get into land development, others will be attracted to that. Import and development. They'll be like, how is this happening? Where's this coming from? And then us in the know, we'll be smiling. We know we're just implementing the language. We're literally implementing the language. I told one brother, I said, we're a music major. I thought about becoming an imam.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting. So, but I'm glad you are in that discipline, and we have others who are thinking deeply. Yeah. And I need you to do that. Because in my role, I want to focus on what I'm doing to become an expert at it. And then others in finance, we need them to focus, to be expert at it. The Imam here, the judge, he's in legal, needing to be expert at it. And we cross-pollinate, like you said, Imam. We feed each other and we help each other. And this is how New Africa grows. But the kids, when they first come in, they may not even be mature enough to understand the wisdom of what we're doing. You know, they may catch it later. They'll know it's sweet. They'll get the honey. Yeah. But then as they get deeper and deeper, they'll say, oh my God. Yeah, I'll end here. I remember when I was a kid, like 4 or 5 years old, my mama used to have us listen to Imam Muhammad over and over. And most of it was just over our, we children. I get in college, take some logic classes, go back and listen to those old tapes. I'm like, oh my God.
I mean,
it's just mind-boggling. So a lot of our kids, they may not even catch it at first, but that's okay. We know what the language is. We have to plant it in the ground and grow the system from the ground up and let the kids eat from the fruits of what we grow.
Right. I mean, that's beautiful. I know Sister Adria is the chair of the Culture Committee. So at this point, I will turn it over to her and thank you for allowing me to be kind of co-host after this evening. So any concluding words, Sister Adria?
Yes, first and foremost, I want to thank our distinguished guest, Imam Rashad Abdul-Rahmaan, and my brother Kachebee Abdullah. I thank Allah that I was able to bring you two together, because being a student of Imam Rashad's Quran study class, I'm listening to him, and then being a musical friend of my brother Kachebee Abdullah, I wanted you to meet. And I pray Allah that this will be the first of many of collaborations. And I'm so thankful to my brother Judge David Shaheed, because I am not this is not my forte. So I really appreciate his help. And I just look forward to the next one, and let us just continue this. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and I pray we will continue it and plant more seeds in our community and in our children. And thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah.
Imam Rashad, would you close us out with the dua, please?
Sure, yes sir. Bismillah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
Amen. Thank you all very much, and please be safe.
Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. I love everyone.
Oh, wait a minute, Brother Kachebee. You have a show. You're performing
right.
this evening, right?
Right, alhamdulillah. And what inspired me to do the show was this meeting. You know, because I know a lot of times, some people, you know, we have reputation of speaking, but I wanted to move my hands. So I didn't even intend on performing tonight, but once I, committed to having this meeting, I decided to do a concert at 8:30 Mountain Time. So let's see, in about an hour and a half from now on Facebook Live. So just come to Kachebee. Facebook Live is a free concert. And my intentions, I'm going to do my best. It's not Coltrane, but I would do my best to honor Coltrane and Miles Davis. I'm going to play some of those standards and also some original work. Because I want to show our community what we plan on doing. And, one other thing before I forget, real quickly, about the children. I was speaking with my mentor, Nolan Shaheed, about what we intend to do with the kids with New Africa. Nolan reminded me at the peak of our culture, which was jazz, none of them were old people. They were all, Lee Morgan, Coltrane, they were all young people. Charlie Parker, they were young. So we want to target the young people and get out of the way. We'll train them and then get out of the way. Okay, I'll just end there. But anyway, Facebook Live in about an hour and a half, 8:30 Mountain Time. So that's 10:30 Eastern Standard.
Excellent.
Inshallah.
What's the link to the Facebook Live? What's the link?
Okay, it just I'll give the spelling of my name.
Just put it in the chat. If you put it in the chat, if before we go off, can you put the link in the chat, please?
Okay.
Before we close out.
Yes, sir. Give me a moment. Let me see if I can find it.
And Imam Rashad, your Quranic study leadership class, did you have anything you wanted to add to that? I'm a student, slow but sure student, and would you like to add to I'm a witness. It's a beautiful class. Learned and inspired.
Well, it's a year-long program, and we focus on a select amount of surahs from the Quran, specifically how, in the language of Imam Muhammad. In other words, we zero in on how he translated, how he taught us to recite certain surahs, and also his commentary. Again, it's a year-long program, so we won't be open again until for September 2021. We have a good number now, and it's for people. For next year, it's going to be a little bit. I think I'm going to open it up so it'll be a little bit smoother, because we started off. I had a very a lot of work in my program, and I realized that we had to lighten it up. So that's what we're going to do. But also for people who are here this year, we have year 2. So we have 3 years. We have year 2, and we study from different angles. So this year we're just doing some surahs. Next year, for the people who remain, the individual who would like to stay with us, we're going to be doing the narrations of the Quran, like the different prophetic narrations. And then the 3rd year, we'll just look at the vocabulary. We're just going to do an in-depth terminology study. So those 3 angles kind of give the student a well-rounded understanding. But we're also, at the beginning of next year, we're going to have, I'm working on the books now, but even if the books, all of them are not finished, I'll still have the program. This will kind of be a concurrent running program, which is the Foundations of Al-Islam. So it's basically looking at Islam, the 5 pillars, the 6 articles of faith, the Quran, Muhammad's life. We'll look at those, in different modules, but we'll study it in depth. Again, everything is from Imam Muhammad's commentary, just sort of in a structured way. And again, our interest is to reach imams, teachers in our schools, our weekend schools, our business people, our musicians. We want we have a little bit of everyone, and that's what we want. We want everyone we want to help. We want to help. We never make the claim that once you leave us, you'll just know everything Imam Muhammad had to say. And, we just want to facilitate and give everyone a strong foundation and a strong ability to access. But we wanted to feed them in their respective disciplines, because again, that's what I was mentioning when Brother Kachebee said, that's how we literally see our work that way. If we could reach everyone who in their respective areas, then that's really how the community has growth and more beauty. So that's our intention, inshallah.
And also we have New Freedom Exchange, who is streaming this program, and we want to thank them. They are our future, and we thank Allah for them. That's Imam Bilal Hassan. And I also want to recognize Dr. Imam Bashir Ali, who is the convener for the Midwest Leadership Conference. And it was his idea to start these programs online. He sort of like pushed me in there first. So, alhamdulillah, thank you. And we just want to end with that. Did I miss anyone? And Brother Kachebee, did you get a chance to put the link? Yes, I see. The link is there for those who want to watch our fabulous Brother Kachebee live in concert tonight.
Alhamdulillah.
Is there a website for New Africa?
Not yet, because we haven't officially launched the record company. Inshallah, like I was mentioning earlier, early next year, we intend to look for financing, and then we'll launch everything, including the artists.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Alhamdulillah. You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
See you soon.
There you go.